entire success. But let's also talk about how your communication on the public front was thwarted. So I've been watching the Twitter trust and safety, the former trust and safety executive, Yoel Roth, being roasted over a slow fire or maybe a quick fire in Congress with a certain degree of satisfaction. And it's clearly the case that social media enterprises, and Twitter the most egregious among them, perhaps, although we don't know what happened at Facebook, et cetera, you were definitely persona non grata on the social media communication front. And so what do you make of that, and how did that unfold?
Yeah, so I joined Twitter in August 2021. I mean, I never had a Twitter presence. In fact, I told my assistant professors and graduate students, don't join Twitter, just write scientific papers for a decade.
Yep.
So there was some irony in my joining Twitter. What I found was that I felt like it gave me a voice. Right, I joined almost I immediately got 100,000 followers. It was actually kind of it felt like I could have a platform.
Yeah.
But I would write messages, and it would get attention of my followers, but it never went outside of my followers. And I wondered about that. When Bari Weiss wrote her Twitter Files expose, what she found was that the day I joined Twitter, I was put on a trends blacklist that guaranteed that my tweets, and I joined Twitter for one purpose, essentially to communicate to the public the ideas of the Great Barrington Declaration, to criticize public health when it was warranted to criticize public health, to propose alternate strategies for managing the pandemic, and to help create a community of people of scientists and regular people who would then have some tools to oppose authoritarianism where they were.
Yep.
Public health authoritarianism where they were. That was the purpose of joining Twitter. And then also to convince people that didn't necessarily agree with me or just didn't know my message that I had something reasonable to say about these topics. So to be on a trends blacklist, essentially what it meant was that I could not actually, even though it looked to me like I was accomplishing something with Twitter, and I was with my followers, but I wasn't accomplishing the broader purpose for which I joined Twitter.
Yeah.
The purpose for which Twitter exists, actually, I think, is to allow that kind of communication to happen at scale.
Yeah.
I have to say, I have mixed emotions about Twitter. It is an incredibly powerful tool, Jordan. As you know, you reach political leaders, you reach journalists, you reach other scientists, in a way and you reach regular people in a way that's not possible with any other platform. I think in the right hands, it is a great force for good in society.
Yeah, but it's also a place where, like, what would you call it? Petty tyrants can run roughshod invisibly behind the scenes. And we've certainly seen no shortage of that on Twitter, despite the fact that the legacy media, damn their calloused souls, seem to have no interest whatsoever on sharing the revelations that Musk has made public about the unbelievably backbiting maneuvering that went on underground continually on the Twitter landscape. So it's really pernicious, when you're subject to the authoritarian constraint of your communication in a manner that's actually invisible as well as lied about. It's really something pathological. And so what's your understanding of how your communication was restricted on Twitter?
So I actually got to go visit Elon Musk and see Twitter headquarters, and they showed me they have a system called Jira, where you have your own account. I had my account, and they would have marks on my account for like what the restrictions were. Literally, it said the words trends blacklist. That trends blacklist, I don't believe Twitter put in place on its own. I believe that was the result of the American federal government essentially asking Twitter executives to suppress.
And
now, why do I believe
you say trends, Trends, or trans?
Trends, Trends.
Okay, trends.
Blacklist.
Yeah, okay, trends blacklist. Got it. Yeah. So did that mean you couldn't
prevent my
trend?
tweets from trending?
Right. Got it.
Correct.
Got it. So that meant you couldn't go viral, essentially. Anything that you did.
Yeah. That's right.
Right.
Like
how sneaky.
My followers
and you think that there was collusion between Twitter and the federal government, and this would be the public health bureaucracy, essentially, designed to stop you from being able to communicate your expertise. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
Your expertise.
So I think a lot of governments did this, but certainly the American government did this. They adopted this strategy of limiting misinformation in social media settings.
Misinformation.
And the way they did that,
yeah.
the way they did that is they garnered the cooperation of social media companies by essentially by threat, right? If you don't do this, we're gonna regulate you out of existence.
Yeah.
That started with this like national security issues around election issues and national security issues, but I think it bled over into this pandemic management.
Russia collusion, conspiracy, fraud.
Yeah, and so like and it bled over into this into like communication about health risks and COVID, right? And so like the Surgeon General of the United States had an initiative where he wanted to root out information. Tony Fauci has an email with Mark Zuckerberg from the very beginning of the pandemic, where Zuckerberg essentially offers him, it's redacted, but from the context, it's pretty clear, some capacity to limit what people can post on Facebook, to limit misinformation. The social media companies were in regular contact with the federal government, receiving instructions about what to suppress and in many cases who to suppress.
Yep.
Regarding specifically, information about COVID, and I know this because I'm part of a lawsuit that the Missouri and Louisiana Attorney General's offices have brought against the Biden administration.
Yeah, right.
And that lawsuit is uncovered. We deposed Tony Fauci. We deposed. I think Jen Psaki is going to be deposed. A whole bunch of like very prominent figures in the.
When is this going to unfold?
It's been going on for like 9 months now. I mean, hopefully we'll get some decision in this coming year. I'm actually quite hopeful about this because what we've uncovered
Have they testified? Have Fauci and Psaki testified yet?
Fauci has. I don't know yet if we had Psaki in yet, but like, there was the judges granted us the ability to depose 10 major figures inside the Biden administration, including the FBI agents and others. It's revealed a vast censorship enterprise.
Yeah. Well, we should also define for everybody who's listening and watching what fascism means technically. So fascist means to bind together. And the fascist ethos is something like unity of corporation, government, and media at the highest levels of function. And so the idea is essentially that a triumvirate acting as a unity at those high levels can be extraordinarily efficient. And if it's benevolent, there's the rub, then it can march forward, with unparalleled success. And you get people like our appalling prime minister admiring the CCP, for example, for its ability to move forward on the environmental front without paying attention to such niceties as, let's say, parliament and public opinion. And that's that delusion of fascist efficiency. And the thing about united systems is they can move very, very quickly when they need to, and that's well and good if they're moving in the right direction. But the right direction is hard to determine, and if they're moving in the wrong direction, then God help us all. And this collusion between the social media companies and the security apparatus and the broader media world, which is still occurring because they won't cover the Twitter files, is fascist in the highest order. And it's definitely a threat to the integrity of, well, I would say proper governance worldwide, but certainly proper governance within the United States. It's appalling.